It's new year, the new Xero shoes are out. I got a couple pair of them. I'm gonna talk to you about my transition to minimalist, or what we used to call barefoot running, and the new shoes that are released, so stick with me. So I'm out trail running with these guys. I know the Xero shoes aren't all designed to be running shoes, but it's been my personal experience that every single pair that I've owned work great for running shoes, largely because they're like running in socks or moccasins in that they give your feet an unlimited amount of articulation. And there's just enough tread on the bottom to keep the rocks from poking through or messing you up. Also enough tread on the bottom to stop goat heads, which are these little demon thorns that we have around here. Anyone from Utah knows exactly what I'm talking about. Let me talk to you about my transition to barefoot running. As a child, I was always flat-footed. I had collapsed arches, most specifically in my left foot. Then joining the military, we had those trash black polish, I'm old school, boots that had those road tire, those, you know, those 1.5 deuce tread on the bottom of them, and they were horrific. The boot didn't break, your feet didn't break in, the boot broke your feet in. So using those, eventually they softened up, and I felt like they were the best things I had, because now my feet and my boots matched. Not necessarily because it was the best thing for my feet. Transitioning from military boots to long distance running, I found myself running about 8 miles a morning every morning. And I was using Brooks or some kind of running shoe, whatever worked. And this is back when those 5-finger toe shoes come out. And I thought, well, let's try those because it gives me a mechanism to be more barefoot. Because as a child, I always wanted to be barefoot. I did a ton of martial arts. I'd walk through the snow barefoot, and it was just kind of like a personal challenge to see if I could go and be barefoot everywhere I went. So when those 5-finger toes come out, I decided, you know, I can run 8 miles in the morning, no problem. So let's see if I can do even a portion of that distance with these 5-finger shoes. So I went out and I ran 1.5 miles. And it wrecked me. I was not able to run for about another week, week and a half. The reason that is because my whole life I had been wearing shoes that were akin to wearing a cast on a broken arm. So my muscles had atrophied, and that atrophy made me dependent upon shoes, which a lot of people nowadays are dependent upon shoes. That's fine, I'm not judging, I'm just saying that's not for me. So after I transitioned to these 5-finger shoes and it wrecked me for a week, I thought, well, let's try this again. And I was doing literal barefoot running. And in about the course of 6 to 8 weeks, I was able to stretch the tendons and muscles that I'd never used in my life and develop enough strength that I did 7 miles barefoot on cement. And once that transition was made, and that's probably not the way to do it, but it's how I did it. Once I'd made that transition, I had discovered a whole litany of what we were calling barefoot shoes, which in reality were minimalist shoes. And I kind of bought a few here and a few there and tried to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like, and eventually settled on a couple of major brands, one of them being the Xero shoe. The thing I like about Xero shoes specifically is the fact that they feel like a pair of socks with a thin piece of rubber on the bottom of them. They're the closest thing I've ever seen to moccasins, only unlike moccasins, they have enough leather on the bottom, just barely enough leather, that I'm not getting wrecked by the rocks as I cruise through them. So another thing that I like about the Xero shoes is I can roll them up into a little ball, throw them in a backpack, and I'll hike in sandals a lot. But sometimes you get in places where there's briars. Sometimes you got to go down to town and go to a place where no shirt, no shoes, no service. And sometimes you just want a spare pair of shoes, like when you're traveling overseas and you don't want to carry a lot of weight. Ultralight anything is a win because you can bring more kit with less weight and solve more problems that way. All right, I'm gonna finish my run and I'll meet you back in the office. Hey, it's Tyler with TJack Survival. So you just saw some running footage, and I decided for this review, I'm gonna come back to my overhead camera rig where I can talk about the specifics of the shoes up close. I kind of want to talk about my evolution with these things. My first pair of Xero shoes I got, I destroyed them. I actually was building trails in the Forest Service in them for a while, and they held up pretty good, but I eventually killed them. And also the first iteration of Xero shoes, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if I'm remembering correctly, they didn't have the best glue, some of the tips come apart, that kind of stuff. So that pair is missing. I killed it, I trashed it. The next pair I bought, these guys I've run in, I kind of treat them like I don't want to put shoes on, but I can throw slippers on really quick and go do whatever I gotta do shoes. They're kind of half sock, if you will, and they have held up phenomenally. The tread I've burnt through just a little bit from running. That is to be expected. They're still in great condition and they're, good to go. But the 3 new shoes that you now see here, and I gotta pull these off my feet. The 3 new shoes that you now see here are the new release shoes, and I have quite literally been wearing them every day, minus when I gotta go to work and can't wear shoes, I have to wear boots. So these 3 shoes, and I'm bad with names, so forgive me here. They are the Mesa Trail 2, the Prio Suede, and the Denver Leather. So the Denver Leather is this dude right here on the left. So the Denver Leather is this one right here. This one is the Pro Suede, and this one is the Mesa Trail 2. Shipping, they come in a cool box. The main concern for me when I get something shipped is it's not damaged when it gets here. There's a cool little note from the owner saying you're awesome for buying Xero shoes, which is true. They've got some cloth inside of them to keep them rigid, a little bit of an explanation. It's some basic stuff. Other than that, shipping as well. Shipping. So, the main point you're here is to know about the shoe. Now, in the first part of this video, I talked about why I like minimalist shoes, We used to call them barefoot shoes. You're not wearing barefoot shoes if you're wearing shoes, right? That was horrific. So let's talk a little bit about the attributes. They all feel like the original Huarache with cloth on the top of them. The best way to explain that and why is because if you look, there are these seams or these ribbons that go in and pull on the leather when you tighten it up, which kind of tightens it down like a Huarache or a, you know, the original roots of this shoe, only they have cloth on the top of them. So they're gonna feel like a moccasin, which I am all about from a primitive perspective. They're extremely light. I don't know any lighter shoes out there, to be honest with you. And then they're gonna feel a little bit like a sock. Now they aren't built like a sock, but they will feel like a sock. One thing specifically with these guys too is they're a little bit more meaty. I've been wearing these today. I've been running in these recently. They're nice because you can throw them on and just go. The other negative I've had is if you're gonna go barefoot in these shoes, this little dude kind of walks on you just a little bit. Now you can take it out, and the reality is it's kind of gross to go barefoot in a shoe. So if you're gonna do that, you know, get some ankle socks and wear socks, or treat your shoes in the same way you would socks. You wear them for a little bit and then you just wash your shoes. I don't know that they're gonna last as long if you do that. But if you wear socks, there are zero issues with this insert. Other than that, these are about as close as you can come to being barefoot while still being able to go to work and go to stores and that kind of thing. These guys work great for trail running. They're a little more meaty. These are a little softer shoe. I'm gonna call these more like a Vans or a skateboard type shoe. And then these guys are what I wear pretty regularly. I have a soft shell or I have a polo that I wear sometimes for work, and these are great shoes for that because they're leather. They're warm-ish. They're not as warm as a normal shoe, but they're not as cool as like these aerated shoes, and that's positive. When it starts to get closer to winter, you want something that's a little more like a hiker shoe, a little more toasty, but these are not too hot so that you can't wear them in the desert. Okay, so as far as attributes are concerned, I did a lot of traveling overseas, and one of the problems with traveling overseas is you're living out of a duffel bag for a year. And when that happens, you can't pack a lot of kit. It's hard. I mean, I'm in a house right now that's full of stuff that gets used pretty regularly on a regular basis. But when I travel or when I've gone overseas, one of the problems that I have is you want a couple of clothes that you can change on a regular basis to work out in so that you don't have to wash every day. You want jackets for when it gets cold and, you know, just clothing. You kind of need more than what you can put in a duffel bag. Well, when it comes to shoes, you'll get like one pair of good shoes and then maybe some running shoes. The cool thing with something like a Xero is that I can take this thing and I can quite literally roll it up in a ball, okay? And I can stick this thing in a pocket. I can pack it away. I can get it wet. I can do whatever. It'll pop right back out. I can wear it like a moccasin or a slip-on or something simple, and then just treat it like a running shoe, a hiking shoe, and all sorts of stuff. My takeaway on the Xeros is this. If you're not wearing minimalist shoes, get something that has zero heel rise. Something that gives you a little bit more spread in the toe for the toe box. And what'll happen is inevitably your tendons will stretch in ways they've never done before. Your muscles will grow in ways they've never done before, in ways that they should have done from childhood but weren't able to do because the shoes you've been wearing are more akin to a cast or a boot than a naturally functioning foot. So if you're gonna switch to minimalist, this is a great way to do it. They're not that expensive, especially when compared to normal mountaineering or backpacking boots, which I also own. I use high-end mountaineering boots when it's ice climbing time. The rest of the time, or the second I get out of the field, I'll throw something like this on. Okay, hopefully my perspective on why I wear minimalist shoes, along with these options of the more recent, I think released today, if I'm putting this out on the right time, shoes, give you options of a way to strengthen your feet, to gain your arch back, to get articulation you didn't have before,
and strength that you didn't have before, which will open up your opportunity to travel and move without the need of shoes or the need of something to brace your feet because they've become too weak and atrophied for too long over normal human life. Hopefully that is valuable to you. Go check these out, Xero shoes, Xero shoes. Just put that in Google. I'll leave some sort of a link in the description down below. If you have any question of me about the shoes that I go running in or the stuff that I do minimalist activities in, leave them down below. I will answer every question that I can. And thank you for watching. Put my shoes back on. Socks.